Joining us now is our buddy Jordan Raanan of NJ.com. What's up, baby?
What's up, fellas? What's going on? Good to see you out here.
Good to see you, man.
We make the trek down here to good old Jersey.
And we made good time, too.
Of course we made a good time. You were driving.
I tell you what, man.
We're lucky to be alive.
Raanan,
I know. I heard about your driving, by the way, already.
If you ever want to get somewhere, man.
Questionable.
Yeah.
But how questionable?
Yeah, if you're ever in a hurry to get to the scene of the crash, he's your driver.
Guys, we got here in 2 hours and 20 minutes. My map said 2:35, and look at me. All my lanes
I like
are
to
working.
live, you know. It's a pretty simple concept.
I'm feeling great, though.
I love that. I love that. Like halfway here, he's like, "We're making great time. We can take our time," and then he's riding people from us.
That's true. That's accurate. Raanan, today at practice, the guys that didn't play: Eric Flowers with a hip, Weston Richburg with a knee, McLean and Amukamara. Any surprises? What's your takeaway from the guys who did not participate in practice today?
Yeah, man, we didn't know about Weston Richburg till we got out there. Tendonitis is never a great thing. That's not something that goes away right away, you know. So knee tendonitis, you can't be totally thrilled about that. Prince, a groin strain, you know, he looked to be all right. He was out there. It's not like he was inside. It was something serious. So they all look like minor things right now. So at this point, there's nothing, you know. Jameel McLean was a stinger, looked a little bit scary. When he was down at first, I saw he was laying straight on his back and saying something, and his arms were moving, but his legs were not moving at all. So that's a scary one. But he walked off the field under his own power. They said he had a stinger. They're doing tests on him, so that's at least optimistic on that end. So nothing. And Eric Flowers, obviously, huge that he's not on the field. But the fact that they don't think it's anything serious right now, also, again, positive. Should be back tomorrow, within the next couple of days. Fully intends to, you know, be back by the preseason opener next week, and I think that's key. As long as he gets in those, you know, make sure he gets on the practice field enough and gets in those preseason games. He needs preseason games. They're asking a lot from this kid.
Green.
Weston Richburg at center. How big is that if he misses? What's the depth there? Is there any?
Well, here's the deal, Reddy. I mean, you're talking about depth. They're already at the point, and I've said this many times, where with Richburg healthy and Flowers healthy, they're at the point right now where they're one injury away from just panic mode. Like, they can't afford any more of these starting players right now to be injured.
On the line.
Any of those core offensive line players.
Correct.
There's just not the depth back there, really at any position that you look at that they can really withstand. I mean, tackle especially. They are toilet paper thin, one ply thin at tackle right now.
Joining us now is Jordan Raanan of NJ.com. It's Armen Levack, second annual New York Sports Training Camp Tour, live from Giants Camp, thanks to Dunkin' Donuts and Adidas Performance Sunwear.
So my assessment that there's a lot of questions, and if more positive answers to these questions than negatives, this team can make some noise. If those answers come back negative, like injuries at center or tackle or whatever, they're in big trouble.
Yeah, I mean, the good part is that last year, I think, as much as we just talked about some negatives, I think there's way fewer negatives right now than there were last year. This offense was a disaster. You know, in training camp, interceptions left and right. I haven't seen Eli still 0 interceptions in training camp. I mean, there was days last year where there was 3 every day. You know, it was 2 or 3 a day at some times. So the fact that the offense is obviously great at a significantly greater point than it was last year puts this team in a much better shape. The injuries, though, are going to be key. Fortunately, knock on wood, you know, for the Giants, knock, we haven't had anything serious yet, you know. So we had 2 one in the spring and one in July 4th weekend. But at least since we've been here, you know, they've been okay in that regard. So you cross your fingers. We got a long way to go, but in that regard, I think there is more reasons for optimism this year than there was last year.
Okay, Jordan Raanan of NJ.com. Eli Manning seemed a little off in the beginning of practice. Levack thinks he was doing it on purpose.
Yeah, I thought he was trying to find a guy who could make a catch if he threw it behind him a little bit.
Yeah, he was not. It was not the look. This was a sloppy practice. This was the sloppiest practice by far. But it also was the first day that they're in full pads. You know, leg pads, everything. You know, uppers, shoulder
Which
pads.
in today's CBA, that's a big and rare deal.
Right. So, look, when you go to the first day of pads, it really changes. You know, usually this is what happens at these kind of things. Defense really dominate earlier, especially once they start getting to go out there and hit. The defense usually gets the better of it. And the offense, exactly. It is Christmas for them. The offense wasn't exactly firing on all cylinders today. Plus, there's also the thing is they're limiting Beckham and Cruz's reps still.
Really?
So, you know, that's the plan. It's been the plan from day one. It's going to be the plan. So you see, they go out there the first time on offense. Dwayne Harris and Corey Washington are running next to Eli Manning.
Right.
So it's not like he has, and look at the offensive line.
Preston Parker was out there a lot too.
Yeah. He's like he takes the first slot reps. So
Got it.
So, and then you look at the offensive line he's running out. The offensive line they jogged out there today was Justin Pugh, Adam Geddes, Dallas Reynolds, John Jerry, and Jeff Schwartz at one point. I mean, or Marshall Newhouse. Yeah. So Schwartz was only taking half the reps. So Marshall Newhouse at one point. Those are like three guys that you might not want starting an NFL game for you. I mean, so take that into consideration when you think about the Giants' offense today. They hope that that's not the team that they're going to field week one, because I'll tell you what, if that's the team they're going to have to field week one, it's not going to be
be nasty.
It's not going to be pretty.
Yeah.
When you look at that wide receiver core, Jordan, they're bigger this year, though. With James Jones coming in and everything, they're more impressive
Jeremy
looking.
Davis, big kid. Looked good out here today. Had a really good day, by the way. Yeah. There's Corey Washington also. I think he came in at like 223 pounds or something. Big guy.
He looks like a tight end out there right now.
Yeah, he does. He's big. I'm not sure how his blocking is. That's the thing. If he could prove he's a good blocker and he could play special teams, it really would solidify himself on this team. But as of now, they have those three guys, really, those bigger guys that you're talking about. You're talking about Corey Washington. You're talking about James Jones. You're talking about Jeremy Davis. How are they going to fit all those guys on the roster? They have Dwayne Harris, who's not the biggest guy, but he's assured of a roster spot because they signed him big money to do special teams around here. So he also a wide receiver. You have Preston Parker, who they do like, and then you have Beckham, Cruz, and Randall, who obviously, if they're here, they're going to be on that roster.
Yeah,
so
1, 2, 3.
They have to find a way to fit everybody there and what they're going to do there. But that's the least of this team's problems. That's not a problem. That's a good problem. If you're worrying about having too much talent, and you know what? They always say you can never have too much talent. They thought they had too much talent at cornerback last year. Just then they had to start going pick guys off the street at cornerback. I mean, Chandler Fenner came in and ended up matched up against Des Bryant.
Shocking.
And then Shocker, he went for 48 yards or whatever, or 40-something yards.
Chandler, I think he was in Friends. Maybe the same one. Jordan Raanan.
I think it might be a different Chandler.
Oh, okay.
Just a guess on my part.
Not Bing? Not Bing? Okay.
Dang it. Jordan Raanan of NJ.com with Armen Levack. It's Armen Levack's second annual training camp tour. We're live from Giants camp today. Raanan, it's a different...
Although, let me just say, you killed the younger demographic. They don't even know what Friends are anymore, by the way.
I know. It's
Netflix. My 11-year-old is hooked on it. My 11-year-old is hooked on it. As soon as she walks in my house, Netflix. She's watching Friends.
Really?
Like, I don't know if this is a good thing. I don't know. I think really
that a lot.
Cool 20 years ago.
I think a lot of these millennials say, Friends, huh? What?
Man, it took over.
Seinfeld? What?
That's
never
sad.
heard of it.
That's sad.
Yeah,
I think you're right on that. Hey, we've been told this is a new, different Tom Coughlin this year. What was going on? It was on the other side of the field today. What were they doing at the end of practice today?
They were having a competition to throw the ball, I think from about 20 yards out, off the goalpost.
Oh, wow.
I think it was DBs versus wide receivers. It took a while for someone to actually hit it. Wasn't exactly, they weren't banging them left and right. But this is part of the Tom Coughlin's approach this year. And I just asked him why. Why are you doing all these games? What does that mean? And he said, they want to keep it fun, they want to keep it light, and they want to have competition. He always wants to stress it's competition. So it's offense versus defense. That's what it was. It's been offense versus defense a couple times. They did a fat guy punt catching competition the other day, and that actually went much smoother than this one. The guys. This one took quite a while for a guy to bang it off the goalpost throwing it. But
is Tom Coughlin so relaxed that he's actually nice to you this year?
Yeah,
let's not get carried away.
Okay, that's what I thought.
He dropped his. He said he dropped his Gatorade the other day. It was like a semi-toss throw drop out of astonishment on day 4 of Giants training camp, and then went on this rant about how he wasn't going to do that. He was intent, and he was saying, Jordan, why do you have to ask those kind of questions, Jordan? And then he followed up with, I was trying not to do that today. And he just couldn't help himself. He just couldn't do it.
He knows your name? Because last year you were idiot in the pink shirt.
That's true.
And you only wore a pink shirt once, but the whole season you were idiot in the pink shirt. At least he knows your name this year, man. Congrats. Let NJ.com know that.
I introduced myself to Judy, his wife, the middle of last year.
She knows
the middle of last year, and I said, I am Jordan, blah, blah, blah. and we talked for a minute or two, and at the end of the conversation, I go, I'm the guy in the pink shirt. And she goes, now I know who you are.
You're infamous.
You're that
infamous.
guy.
That's great.
So she didn't really have to know who I was until I actually said, like you said, the guy in the pink shirt.
That's awesome. Fantastic.
Idiot in the pink shirt goes same as guy in the pink shirt.
100%.
Pretty much synonyms.
Yep.
So what did you take out of this practice today? What was the biggest takeaway for you?
It was a sloppy practice, and let me tell you. That offensive line got dominated by the defensive line. It's going to be a point of contention, a point of concern going forward here. If they have to put a line that looks like that out there on the field, it's going to be a problem. The defensive line really had their way. They were getting in there really quick. They blew up a couple screens. They blew up a couple running plays.
Ooh.
As you said, Eli was a guy on top of him right away. But you know what? Don't we almost expect that if, like, they're down essentially three starting linemen? I mean, in this league, you see this all the time. When you look at guys and you look at second and third string offensive line, and even in preseason games, they just get dominated. They really do. And this is every team. The reserve linemen just can't hang in there. Because you look at the defensive ends and defensive linemen, even the second stringers, even the third stringers sometimes, these are guys that are almost part of the rotation. So they're real players. Whereas the second and third string linemen, a lot of them aren't even going to be around come, a month from now. So it's usually a pretty big mismatch. We saw that today. That was my biggest takeaway.
Okay. Armen Levack live from Giants camp. It's Armen Levack's New York Sports Training Camp tour. The defensive side of the ball, how bad is safety going to be this year?
I've come to camp and become more optimistic about safety, to be honest with you. I have.
Is Landon Collins that good?
I don't think anybody's that good. I just think they could be serviceable at the position. I'm not at the point where I think it's going to be utter disaster. Like, this is kind of where we were last year with tight end.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be okay.
Right.
Look, Larry Dino had a great receiving year, but yet he had other problems. So I think that's kind of what we're going to get here. You're going to get guys who have skills that they can use. Like, Landon Collins has a skill that they're going to be able to use. Bennett Jackson, who I like, and I like from day one because he's the one guy that really has that ball-hawking center fielder type skill set.
That instinct almost.
Yeah. He's a cornerback who happens to play safety, which is sort of what you need in today's NFL because of the way it's evolved and the way, you need that free safety type guy to have that skill set. And he's shown that. So I'm actually optimistic about him a little bit. Michael Thompson has even been better than I thought. I thought he would need a lot of work. He's made some plays, looked okay. And then they brought in Jeremy Miles, who has played a little in the league at least. So we have at least somebody on this roster who has started some kind of game, at least one game, at safety. So it makes you feel a little better.
Got it.
Now, how much are they helped by the fact that Prince Mukamura and DRC are on the outside of them?
That should help because they shouldn't have to roll too much coverage. And I think that's the key here. Like, they're not going to have to roll a lot of coverage, a lot of coverage towards Des Bryant of the world. Or look, tough matchup no matter who's guarding Des Bryant. But you feel a little better when it's guys like Cromartie and Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie and Prince because I have confidence that those are two good cover cornbacks. Prince,
as long as you have an over-the-top
really
guy, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, so they don't have to roll their coverage towards one guy to an extreme because they don't really have a number one cornerback. In my mind, they almost have two number one cornerbacks. I really like both those guys. Now, Prince, the key is staying healthy. Again, bring up it seems like we're bringing this up with every guy.
Right.
But, he already has a little minor injury now. This has been a problem throughout his career. He has had injuries. So that has to concern you a little bit. Not that I'm worried that this injury is going to be a long-term thing, but he's got to stay healthy. Because if he's not, the cornerback depth is not very good. So if one of those two guys go down, then all bets are off with that secondary. Everybody, yeah. Then the safeties all of a sudden look worse. Then the cornerbacks all of a sudden look worse. Tremaine McBride, who might be their nickel corner, slot cornerback, has to go to the outside. So then you have a different guy in the slot who may not be as good. So it's really a trickle-down effect. Yeah. Probably everybody all of a sudden, like you said, at least when you have those two guys out there, you feel better.
Right. Jordan Raanan of NJ.com, at Jordan Raanan on Twitter. And his Twitter handle is very imperative here because I witnessed Jordan Raanan today as Eric Flowers told the media and the words came out of his mouth that, yes, I'm hurt. I'm not practicing today. I'm day-to-day. I'll be available for the first preseason game. No way.
21st century reporting, my
As he said
this is how it goes.
You are still recording on your phone. You're not missing a beat. And with one thumb, you are sending out the tweet and quoting Eric Flowers as he says it at Jordan Raanan on Twitter. That was incredible.
See, I took 2 phones out of my
how many
bag.
phones do you
I actually
have?
have a third in my bag.
It's like the bat belt.
Yeah. Some of these are recorders, some of these are phones, some of them are used to be phones and recorders. But
see, I remember you back in the day.
My non-swiftness, these phones have been damaged along the way.
He's been taken by your skill. As soon as
it's become a skill.
You see Jordan?
You know, you're so impressed. But I just tweeted as Tom Coughlin was talking, and because I just activated a new phone yesterday, it sort of has a mind of its own and doesn't recognize Coughlin. I just noticed it says coughing.
Ooh. Okay.
So
Tom Coughing.
Tom Coughing just said
Yeah.
XX and X.
And, it could.
But hey,
it could have.
that's
okay.
part of the business right
Hold
now.
on, man.
Let's just be glad you hadn't had time to teach it bad words.
Yes.
So
Give Tom something completely different.
If you want to know,
Eric can come up with something very wrong, by the way.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
If you want to know real time what's going on in press
ERECK,
conferences,
you change one letter, and all of a sudden it just has a bag.
They tried to do it to me today.
Oh, no.
True story.
Jordan Raanan of NJ.com. He's out here every single day. Raanan, thanks, man. It was good to see you.
You got it, guys.